Hey everyone, this is me, TimelireG, and welcome to yet another Deltarune theory video. This Deltarune theory is going to be about a certain Rick Astley song, and you might be wondering and asking, what does Rick have to do with Deltarune? Well, Rick has this song called Lights Out. It's a Rick Astley song, and it has very interesting lyrics in it, so I'm going to be talking about the lyrics here. I'm not going to play the song, I'm not going to play the music for copyright reasons, but I will certainly read off the lyrics here. Now, the first set of lyrics that you see right at the beginning of the song says, "On the empty streets of this nowhere town." Now, you might be familiar with the remote guys in Chapter 3, the Zapper enemy. There's one that's right at the end of Chapter 3 when you're trying to get the egg to get to the egg room, and he asks Chris where he's going, and one of the options is nowhere, and you have to actually choose that to get to the egg room. And then in Chapter 4, there might be other instances of this that I'm not thinking of, but in Chapter 4, Gerson actually says something about Chris just going nowhere, something similar to that. I'll try to find the dialogue if I can. So that's interesting already. Now, that could probably just be a coincidence, right? That's just a coincidence, but is it though? The next lines you have here just say, "The melting shadows fade and the dark is creeping up on me again." So this is actually very interesting. As you know, the night kind of looks like they're melting, whether it's Des or someone else. It might be Mayor Carroll, I'm not sure, but the melting shadows fade and the dark is creeping up on me again. Kind of like, the light is running low, the shadows start to grow. It's very interesting. I don't really have much else to say on this part specifically, but I'm sure there's other examples of melting shadows. It's like in Undertale with a determination when a monster tries to use determination. So that's kind of interesting. Toby Fox might actually have gotten inspiration from this Lights Out song by Rick Astley here, So I'm going to move on to the next lyrics here. "In between these sheets where I laid you down, I tried to find some rest, so I reach out for the switch, but why pretend?" As you know, Chris doesn't look like he ever gets sleep. So Susie calls him the school zombie, and he clearly has trouble at home, with Toriel and Sans and whatnot. He clearly has some house troubles going on, some family troubles going on. And so he's really trying to find some rest, always going out at night, ripping the soul out of him. So, he's basically just trying to find some rest. So I reach out for the switch, but why pretend? You could probably come up with something yourself in the comments there. Leave some comments for that one. And it says why pretend, it's kind of like how Deltarune, all the characters, all the Darkners in the game are just not real, they're just objects around Chris's house and wherever the dark fountain spawned from, right? So that's interesting. That's actually interesting. And the next set of lyrics say, "'Cause I can't turn the lights out now, I see your face. No, I can't turn the lights out now, my heart will break." I just instantly think of the soul shattering. That's pretty funny. But, this is like from the perspective of Chris, kind of. "'Cause everything I see will end up killing me all over again, so I can't turn the lights out." So, again, I'm just thinking of how you get certain messages if you keep failing in Deltarune and whatnot. In the game, on the game over screen, you have all these words coming from different sources. Some of them might be gassed or some of them might not be. I believe Susie and Rouse I talk to occasionally in that game over screen, so saving and reloading is still a part of the lore. It's still a part of the plot. There's a clock that stopped ticking by the bed the second you were gone, and it feels like my heart stopped beating too. And this is interesting with all those, Chris is dead theories and whatnot. Again, Susie calling him the school zombie, the stuff with Chris potentially drowning, all that sort of stuff. The clock that stopped ticking by the bed is very interesting, because the clocks in Deltarune, the one in the school, does not move. Even when, it's sunset and the sun's going down, the clock still doesn't move. And you'd think that Toby would actually update the sprite in between those scenes, so I believe that this is telling us something. You know what? It might actually say the clock is broken if you try to examine it. I don't actually remember too much, but that's interesting. There's all those time loop theories as well. Now, the final lyrics that are in this song just ties everything together, and it is the most interesting part of the entire song. It's the most interesting part of these lyrics here. And like I said, it just brings all the other lyrics together and combines them into the plausible idea that Toby Fox actually, when he had that fever dream around 2012, 2011, he might have actually just been listening to Rick Astley. So here we go. I'm going to read them off right now. Because it's hard to keep those promises I made when I was strong. Now I'm haunted by the ghost of you. Absolutely just mind blown by these lyrics here. At the end of chapter 4, how it says that, it seems like Chris is conflicted. He doesn't know whether to listen to the person on the phone telling him to keep his promise or to go with Susie and, defy this prophecy going on. So he's being pulled on these strings, right? So it's hard to keep those promises I made when I was strong. Now I'm haunted by the ghost of you, which is obviously most likely Des. It's most likely December Holiday right here. Now I'm haunted by the ghost of you. Toby Fox did say when Omori was released, there's a game coming out that's very similar to Deltarune. He was slightly involved in Omori and whatnot. So this is a very interesting statement. It could also be Azriel as well. It might not even be Des, But it's hard to keep those promises. Now I'm haunted by the ghost of you. That is absolutely crazy. And Toby Fox loves his music, Toby Fox absolutely loves his music. And so does Chris. Chris is a very good man. He plays the piano all day and night, and he's very talented, just like Toby Fox is. But this, honestly, I feel like this is too much to be a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like, just look at all these lyrics. It's way too much. It is absolutely way too much to be a coincidence. I believe that Toby Fox, when he had that fever dream, he had, his headset on or his earbuds, and he was listening to Rick Astley's albums, and he just heard this. This might actually be a solo track, but I believe that this is the case. I mean, really, come on. Everybody that's watching this should probably go check out Rick Astley's other songs as well, because there might be more hints in the other songs too. Toby Fox might actually be inspired by Rick. Who knows? Now I'm going to be talking about the music video. So I went over the lyrics. Now let's look at the video here. I'm obviously not going to play the video, but I'll just show some screenshots of it. Now you can see Rick walking right through these double doors right here, and it looks like he's going into the supply closet where Chris and Susie went. To get to Castletown and whatnot. That is absolutely incredible. And you can see when he first enters these double doors here, it actually leads to an empty stadium with nothing in it. There's no spectators, there's no viewers in the audience. It's just completely empty. It's kind of like empty Castletown when you first go there as Chris and Susie. There is nobody here, but then later on in the music video, it's all filled out, Rick Astley recruited all of the Darkners, and they're all in the stadium now, later on, which I'll show in a screenshot. Next, you see Rick standing right in front of the Cybers world, right there. You can see the Cybers world, and it's getting all lit up with the candles, with the lights. And, next up, he actually goes back. It shows the footage of the hallway again. So it's like he went back into the supply closet, and then it shows Cyberworld again. And what is this? What's in chapter 3? Shows chapter 3 right there with the Lightners live. Look at that. Absolutely great. Wait, what? Look at this. Look at this right here. There's no way. There's no way. It's almost exactly the same. Look at this. What is that? Is that a thorn ring? Is that Noel's thorn ring right there? And he even has the silver watch too. No way. There is no way. And there's the angel. There is actually the angel right there. Unbelievable, man. This is a scene in chapter 5 that's not out yet. This giant spotlight pointing directly on Chris. So, this is quite something, honestly. And I don't really have anything else to say about it. Absolutely crazy, though. Absolutely crazy. Leave your comments if you want to, theorize on this with me. I actually really do love reading those comments. I'm not just saying that for the algorithm. Partially I am, but partially I do actually really love reading the comments. I love interacting, engaging with the comments. As usual, keep everything civil in the comments. Keep everything respectful. Anyway, feel free to subscribe and join our community. We're no strangers around here. Feel free to come join us. And I'm fully committed to keep making these videos I've been uploading. Just wanted to tell you all about this theory I had here and help everyone understand it. Deltarune's a good game, and we're going to keep playing it and theorizing about it for a long time. So may God bless your day, your week, your month, your life, and I will see you next time. Farewell, everyone.